Well, week 4 is upon us, and the Vikings play the Cleveland Browns at US Bank Stadium, 12 p.m. on CBS. On that call, Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, and now I have the special privilege of being joined by one of the three-headed monster. I'm talking about Trent Green. Trent, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to join you.
Thanks for joining me. I know it's a very, very intriguing matchup this upcoming Sunday. Some familiar foes. But before we talk about the familiar faces, like overall, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I'm really excited about it. When we got assigned this game, it was one that I was thrilled that we're going to be calling the game. And quite honestly, both teams could be sitting here 3-0 very easily with how their seasons have unfolded. Cleveland sitting there 2-1. They should have or could have won in Kansas City week 1. And then, of course, you guys know what happened the first 2 weeks with Minnesota. Those are very winnable games. And but they got it done in the second half against Seattle. So they feel good about where they are and where their momentum's going. And this is going to be a great matchup. It's two teams that like to run the football. They like to get some play action going. They like to take some shots when they get the opportunities. And their defenses like to get after the quarterback. So it's going to be exciting.
Like you said, two of the same teams. We know Kevin Stefanski, he ran the similar offense in Minnesota a couple of years ago that he's running now. And now he gets to face his former coach, or I guess his former head coach, Mike Zimmer. So speaking of that familiarity, like who does that teeter towards, Zim or Stefanski?
I've asked both head coaches that, and they're like, well, you get a lot of that. The longer, especially with Zim, the longer you're in the league, more people know you. They've been around, So they both downplayed it. Like, well, we know each other. We know what they want to do. We got to try and stop that, but they're going to have wrinkles. So it's kind of the answer you get from coaches when that happens.
Right.
I would think that Kevin would have a little bit of advantage because in Kevin's role, Zim was the head coach and the defensive play caller, so he got to witness that for the full time. Kevin, as the offensive play caller with Minnesota, was only, I think he did that just that last season that he was in Minnesota. So if you're looking for some underlying advantage, I don't, who knows? Zim knows all the ins and outs of what Kevin's philosophies and what he wants to get done. But when you're looking at, when I was sitting back thinking about this question and, the fact that because of the head coach dynamic and the way Kevin was positioned as an assistant, I guess technically you could give a little bit of advantage there, but neither one has an advantage. They're not the ones out there playing.
That's true. That is very true. So, I mean, just speaking of that, one thing that Zimmer and Stefanski have in common is that they both coach Kirk Cousins. You were a former quarterback in the NFL. When you see a guy in Kirk Cousins playing this hot, how do you keep that going, and what do you think has prompted this hot start as of late?
Well, I've always been a Kirk Cousins fan. I was a fan of his when he was in Washington. I just like the way he goes about his business. I think he conducts himself as a pro. It means a lot to him, so he spends time away from the field studying things. He works hard. His teammates know the work that he puts in, and he's had a lot of success. So now all of a sudden you look at the foundation that he's had, whether it be with the Shanahans when he was in Washington, you look at Stefanski, had him, for a few seasons as a quarterback coach and as an offensive coordinator in Minnesota, and now Clint Kubiak gets an opportunity. It's neat to see how Kirk has evolved as a player, evolved as a leader. He's comfortable in his skin. He's comfortable in what they're trying to do offensively. I think he's grown in terms of the longer you're in the league and the more success you've had and the longer you're the starter, I think you get more comfortable in a leadership role. I think you become more vocal. I think those are all things that I'm sure he's doing. I'm not privy to it because I'm not in the locker room, but I would anticipate that those are things that he's doing well. And, obviously having the talent around him that he does.
Yes.
JJ and Dalvin and Thielen's been his guy forever. It's been a nice mix for him.
Yeah, so when I was looking at who was on the call this week, of course, like I said, it's on CBS. I was like, okay, Trent Green's on the call, so I got to throw a Kirk Cousins question in there because I remember, I think it was 2004, November of 2004, you were on a streak. I think you had like 65% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and I'm like, okay, there's some correlation there. So you know how it is for a quarterback to just be on a roll.
It's the fun thing about it is you think you start getting to a point where you think you can make every throw, right? Oh, there's a linebacker dropping a safety over the top. I see a guy scream, I think I'll just drop it in there. I think I'll just throw it in there. And when you're in that zone, when you're in that sometimes you can get overconfident and try and maybe make a throw that you wouldn't normally try and make. But it's a great zone to be in. You're comfortable in your skin. You're comfortable in understanding the offense and the protections and the route schemes and reading defenses. And, you get to a certain point in your career. And it was interesting talking to some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball where they said Kirk is to the point where he's comfortable in this offense where he uses his eyes to manipulate the defense to create openings for receivers. And, that's stuff that you see, you see guys that are in his position. So, when you get to that point, it's a lot of fun to play the position when you get to get in a groove or get in a role like that.
I'll get you out of here with this. With two teams that like to run the ball, like you said earlier, how important is time of possession when determining the winner of this game on Sunday?
Time of possession comes into play when you're not getting big plays.
Okay.
So you can have, 25 minutes time of possession. You can have 20 minutes time of possession. If you're getting a lot of quick strikes, these teams, for the most part, they don't want to give up the big play. They don't want to. Yes, it's happened to both teams. Obviously, the defenses have had those, and they've both been in some shootouts. But for the most part, they want to make you earn it. And so I think that's the important thing to remember is when you're looking at stats and you're looking at the time of possession things. Yes, I'm cool losing time of possession every time if I'm getting a bunch of big plays. So I think third down conversions, I think red zone production, you get in the red zone, you're going to have to convert and get some touchdowns. The Browns have been very efficient in that with their run game and what they've been able to do. Obviously, the Vikings have been as well. They've been leaning more on the passing game down in there than they have their run game down in the red zone. So different ways of going about it. But I do think you've got to be able to convert for touchdowns, especially in this game.
And I guess neutralizing Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett plays into that too, right?
Yes, that's part of it. Just like Daniil Hunter, right? He's like,
that's true.
Those guys on the edge. You get those guys on the edge as a quarterback. This is what I always said. I said, guys, if you can run them past me, I can step up in the pocket. I said, if you let them get that inside gap, then that's where it gets hard. Because then you've got to, you're getting outside. Now, I was a pocket guy. I wasn't looking to do all the stuff that Kyler Murray and Baker is one of those guys. He likes to get out in space and do that stuff. But, get the guys, run them by me, let me step up, make my reads and throw. I'm cool with that. But that was me. And these guys can both move a little bit. I know Kirk likes to stay in the pocket, but he's not afraid to move either. And he's shown some proficiency doing that as well.
Well, 12 p.m. Sunday on CBS, we'll see who the winner will be. Not sure as of right now. But I know one thing we're sure of is that you're on the call with Kevin Harlan and Melanie Collins, and you guys will do a good job. So looking forward to it. Thank you again, Trent.
Yeah, definitely. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. See you soon.